Hello and welcome back to another Bad Movie Reviews review hosted by not your favourite running man, Ben from Down Under. And I'm reviewing a film that I've been somewhat anticipating for a while since I saw the director attached, and it is none other than Edgar Wright directing The Running Man, which is an adaptation of the Stephen King book, which has previously had a film made after it with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and this is the latest iteration, but it is directed by Edgar Wright, who is a filmmaker who's made some of my most enjoyable films of all time. You're talking about Baby Driver, the Cornetto trilogy, if you're not familiar, that's The World's End, Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, Last Night in Soho, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. It's a director that I love majority of the work. He's got a certain visual flair that really works and really lends into all of his films. So I've been anticipating this, and the cast as well. Obviously, you've got Glenn Powell, who's an actor I've been somewhat following over the past few years. He's got extreme charisma and is usually great, and Lee Pace and Coleman Domingo and Josh Brolin starring in Weapons and another Weapons this year, and now in this. And this film, honestly, to me, I had a blast. It's somewhat of a very mixed bag, which I'll get into, but it's realistically what I expected from start to finish, but with some certain traits here and there, which I'll get into. But overall, I think the film itself, if you're a book fan, it is very much a closer adaptation to what the book is compared to what the original Arnold Schwarzenegger film was, which was drastically different to some degree. There are certain changes here towards the end of the film, and certain changes to the story overall, but much closer to the original source material than the previous film. So if you're a fan of the book, don't sweat. You probably are going to be very happy with this. I think it's just it is very funny at times. It's a very much action-packed film led by Glenn Powell, who's probably one of the touted leading man at the moment. He's extremely charismatic, and he's really good in this film, in my opinion. Somewhat of a lack compared to his previous roles like Twisters, Anyone But You. He somewhat lacks just due to the fact, obviously, the way the character's written. I think he's innocent in this. I think the way his character is written, coming from source material, is obviously a character who's just very angry and just infuriated at the world. So there's not that usual charismatic charm you get with Glenn Powell that you get here, unfortunately. But overall, I think he has a great performance due to obviously the material, and everyone else in the film, Coleman Domingo, Josh Brolin, Lee Pace, are really good in the film as well. It's obviously got a lot of social commentary as well. It's very much a film about government propaganda, TV network, media control, power, and all that intertwined. And obviously, I think the original book, funnily enough, is set in 2025. So it's funny that this came out here. Maybe that's why they did it. But it is, to give it props, it is very self aware. It is very campy, and it really leans into that. It doesn't really forget what it is. And I think that's what made it really work in that sense, because it really goes for it and doesn't hold back. It's somewhat action. And I think it clocks in a little bit over 2 hours, but the first hour and a half really had me somewhat hooked. It's somewhat adrenaline pumping film. It does lose some steam towards the end, which is what I felt, and I felt I was like, oh, is this ending? No, it wasn't. It does lose some steam, and a lot of the commentary for me worked, but overall, I think it was just kind of very much on the head. It was there wasn't any really deeper substance to it. It was very much on the nose, smacking you on the head with obviously its commentary on it. And I think it's really odd for me to say this. I thought a lot of this was really good, but my actual weakest point of the film is actually the direction, which is really sad for me to say. I think Edgar Wright is a phenomenal director, and I somewhat miss his old films. I don't know if this was a studio thing or whether it was him, but all these films have a specific style and visual flair, and all these films have a specific personality. You think of Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, all those films, even Baby Driver, they've got this specific flair with its direction, its cutting. And if you know, you know. If you're an Edgar Wright fan, you know. It's a very, very entertaining film, but there's none of that visual flair. It doesn't, you could watch this and you don't feel like Edgar Wright directed it. And a lot of his films you can watch without even knowing it was him, and you'd probably pick up on it if you're familiar with his work. And that was probably the most upsetting bit. I would have loved a bit of his stamp on it, which it didn't have. So it just kind of felt like anyone could have directed it. But I thought with him attached, I was really interested to see if it had that flair, because I thought it really could have worked. But it does really go for that wacky thing, but at times it's trying to be funny, and then it just shows obviously people, you know, getting their heads blown off on television and things like that, violence. And sometimes it didn't quite land, like it felt out of place, because it'd be it'd be making a joke and then something like that would happen and you'd go, oh, it's like a somewhat shock factor. And for me at times it didn't work. Obviously, yeah, Glenn Powell's got that natural charisma, and it kind of won me over, even though it's not his normal type of role that he's been doing lately. But I had a good time. It's a hard film to genuinely recommend. I think if you're a fan of Glenn Powell action films, Edgar Wright, you probably more than likely will enjoy it, but it's not a film I can recommend to kind of everyone, because it is very campy, violent, and very, very like distinctive niche type of film. If you love the book, you'll probably like it. But it's just a bittersweet feeling, because I had a lot of fun with it. I just know deep down it probably could have won me over a lot more. As I said, main thing for me was just that direction style from Edgar Wright, and maybe a sharper script at times and tied a little bit of runtime. But overall, I think it's a really good time. Just wish it was more. But if you have seen it, comment below, let me know what you think. If you like the review, give us a like, follow us more. We'll catch you next time.